was about maybe 14 or 15 years old when I decided I was going to be a music journalist. And the timing was perfect. This was the 90s. Vibe magazine, The Source, XXL were not just covering music, but they were covering music in the context of like race and politics and culture. So I had one decision though to make. Was I going to be a print journalist? Was I going to be a television journalist like my mother? Or was I going to be on the radio like my father? So I decided to combine them together, and I decided I'm going to be the Danielle Smith of radio. And things worked out perfectly at first. I got a job at a local radio station in Baltimore. I was hired as a producer and an entertainment reporter. And I lasted about 11 months there until I made a slight political comment that didn't quite sit well with management, but it was all good. I got let out of that contract, and I landed at a startup called World Space Satellite Radio. Now, this was a company that was founded by an Ethiopian businessman whose mission was to create information affluence in Africa. So I started off as a production assistant and eventually was promoted to program director and host for World Zone, the first 24-hour world music channel in the world. And I loved my job, honestly. I mean, I got to travel the world on someone else's dime, covering world music festivals. I got to learn about different culture and music. But if I'm honest with you, I didn't always feel like I fit in. Because I'm a 20-year-old girl from the Midwest, a 20-year-old Black girl from the Midwest, working alongside other music journalists and critics and ethnomusicologists who were, I want to say, predominantly like white male and had been working for decades and decades and had no problems letting me know that I did not belong among their ranks. And it wasn't just the journalists. Sometimes even the artists wouldn't speak to me. They wouldn't do interviews with me because one, they had never heard of me, and two, they had never heard of World Space. But every now and again, I would catch a lick. The Marley family, yes, that one, invited me to come to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to cover the 60th birthday celebration of Bob Marley. The entire family would be there. The biggest names in African and Caribbean music would be there, and I would get to interview all of them. So, I arrive in Addis Ababa. I immediately head over to the press tent to pick up my credentials. And a publicist walks over to me. She kind of pulls me over to the side and she says, "So here's the thing. We're kind of short on time. And we've decided that we're gonna prioritize some of the larger, better known outlets. I mean, the BBC is here. Rolling Stone is here. MTV is here. But how about this? There's some fascinating people who have come from all over the world to attend this conference. I'm sure your listeners would love to hear their stories." Okay. So I just nod and smile. I grab my credentials and I leave the tent. But I am pissed. I mean, it's happening again. And then to make matters worse, this was a Black British woman. Certainly, she had to know how difficult this business is for people like us. But whatever. I go to the Ritz-Carlton looking for someone who might want to talk to me. And right as I was finishing up an interview with two brothers who had hitchhiked across 3 countries to be there for the event, the same publicist walks up to me and she puts a piece of paper in my hand and she leans in and says, "Just act like you belong." Now there's a room number, hotel number on this piece of paper. I don't know who it is. I assume it must be an artist because, like, 1, why the secrecy? And 2, who else is gonna be staying in the, penthouse suite of the Ritz-Carlton Addis Ababa? So I pack up my stuff, get on the elevator, and as I'm walking toward the room, I hear, "Jesus, that's what we need. We need Jesus." I'm thinking, that voice sounds familiar. Could it be? Nah, wait a minute. And my heart just starts to beat really, really fast. And I do my breathing exercises. And right as I calm down, these 2 Frenchmen come storming out of the room. And they've got like a bunch of video equipment and stuff under their arm. And let me say this. I know they're French because although I am only fluent in 1 language, English, I've taught myself curse words in several languages. They were French. So they clear out, and I walk into the room. I say hello to the woman who is standing by the door. I notice in the corner, there's a camera crew. And pacing back and forth in the bedroom is Lauryn Hill. The Lauryn Hill who literally sang me into womanhood. The Lauryn Hill who inspired me to grow out my relaxer and lock my hair. Only this actually wasn't that Lauryn Hill. This was post-miseducation Lauryn Hill. This was MTV Unplugged Lauryn Hill. This was the Lauryn Hill like nobody really understood or kind of knew what to do with, and it occurred to me in that moment, neither did I. But I'm here, so I'm gonna make the best of it. She invites me to sit down. I sit down, I press record on my machine, and I say, "So, how you liking Africa?" The moment those words came out of my mouth, I realized that was the worst possible question. So I just braced. I'm just waiting for her to, cuss me out and kick me out. But she doesn't. She just kind of looks at me like, "Girl, what?" So I'm like, okay, all right. I got to pivot here. So I am the daughter of a 5-time Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist who has a reputation, a reputation for asking the kinds of questions that get right to the heart of the matter. And that's what she taught me. So I was like, I gotta pivot. So, Lauryn, the album. Let's talk about the album. No one understands. We're confused. Help us. Like, what's going on with you? And she answers, but like in parables. And she's talking about like ascension and philosophy and liberation and and I'm just smiling like, okay. But the truth is I had absolutely no idea what this woman is talking about. And so I panicked because I'm split down the middle, right? Because on one side, there's Shawna the journalist. I'm here, I gotta get something. And I don't wanna embarrass myself. But on the other side, there's Shawna the fan, right? I'm like sitting right across from Lauryn Hill. Now, I suspect that she noticed I was having a hard time in that moment because it was right then that she turns to her assistant and she asks her assistant, "Hand me my guitar." And the room goes silent. And she starts to strum her guitar and she starts to sing, not to the room, not to the cameras, but to me. And as she sings, I close my eyes, and it's like all of those times that I felt dismissed and disrespected just kind of mixed in with this like immense sense of gratitude. Here I am, Shawna from Detroit, in a suite in Addis Ababa in the Ritz-Carlton being serenaded by Lauryn Hill, and it just starts like flowing down my face. I'm crying, and I am mortified. Because one, journalists don't cry during interviews. And two, music journalists just don't let the fan in the room. But she continues to sing, and as she strums that last chord, I immediately go, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. For what? I mean, I'm so sorry for being so unprofessional. Don't apologize. There's no need to apologize. I mean, some people think that emotion is weakness, but it's strength. We need your passion. Hold on to that. Okay. She stands up, reaches out her hand, interview over. So I walk out of the room. Now, I wish I could say that those words and that song gave me the strength to get through the rest of that weekend, but no, I was still embarrassed. So much so that I never aired that interview. It wasn't until many, many years later, when I went back to listen to it again, that I realized it wasn't the song, it wasn't the words, it wasn't any of that. It was that moment happened, that she gave it to me. She didn't give it to Rolling Stone. She didn't give it to BBC. She didn't give it to MTV. She didn't even give it to World Space. She gave it to me. Now, later on that weekend, that same publicist, I guess she heard what happened, found me again and said, I'd love to invite you to come over to the presidential palace. The family will be there, the artists will be there, there'll be some dignitaries there, and of course, I say yes. And I end up sitting just one table over from Lauryn Hill. And halfway through the dinner, I catch her eye, and she waves, and she gives me that nod, that nod a girl from New Jersey gives a girl from Detroit, just to let me know so that I am sure that yes, I do belong.